welcome to the 15th edition of the Summer International Film Festival in Stockholm.
سلام عزیزان بیننده. امسال 15مین دور جشنواره جهانی سینمای سماست که کلوپ فرهنگی فردا آن را برگزار کرده و بار دیگر علاقمندان سینما و هنر افغانستان را دور هم جمع کرده. علاوه به این نمایشگاه نقاشی بخش دیگه از برنامه است که ما گفت و شنود خواهد داشتیم با شخصیت‌های عزیز سینما و هنر افغانستان و شما خوبان از اوضاع و روزگار سینمای کنونی که تحولات اخیر به آن آسیب شدید زده به بس خود گرفتیم.
Hej, välkomna. Susan heter jag och kommer att vara moderator för i år. Jag vill välkomna er till vår 15:e filmfestival, vår internationella samma filmfestival. Och vårt lilla team som har kämpat med begränsade möjligheter och ekonomi att driva det här programmet. Och vårt team drivs ju starkt mycket för att bibehålla kulturen och framförallt film och musik och bildkonst. Det som är vår drivkraft är ju rättigheter, mänskliga rättigheter, men framförallt kvinnors rättigheter i Afghanistan som inte särskilt bibehållen här i Afghanistan idag. Så att jag är väldigt glad över att ta och presentera 2 representanter här. Det ena är vår representant Niklas Eriksson som är från Svenska Afghanistankommittén. Jag vill bjuda hit dig för att kunna kanske presentera dig själv.
My presentation is in Swedish. I wasn't aware that English was preferred. But you know, the Swedish Committee for Afghanistan, we have been working in Afghanistan for over 40 years. We were founded in 1980 as a solidarity movement when Soviet had invaded Afghanistan. We work for the rights of women, children, and persons with disabilities. The story of SCA is also a bit sad. In 2022, we still had around 130,000 children in our schools. We had 2 million patients visiting our hospitals and clinics. But due to Quran burnings, the burnings of the Holy Quran in Sweden, the Taliban tried to punish Sweden by saying that all Sweden's activities in Afghanistan should be suspended. And this implied that we as well had to close down our activities. So from March this year, all our activities have been paused. We closed our offices in July this year. Fortunately, we have been able to hand over large parts of our activities, especially our disability program with support for people persons with disabilities, especially children, physical disabilities, deaf children, blind children, that get preparatory education so that they can go to ordinary schools. And they get support so that they can go to mainstream schools. So these activities, the disability program, is now run by the Norwegian Committee for Afghanistan, our sister organization in Norway, with funding from our organization. So we are still funding important activities in Afghanistan, but we are no longer allowed to work there ourselves. We are looking for new ways forward in collaboration with other NGOs, other organizations that are able to work in Afghanistan. And that's where we stand today. You can still support us and you can show your commitment to Afghanistan by becoming a member of SEA. It means that you will get our newspaper, our magazine, Afghanistan News. I gave some copies to the guy selling the tickets, so you can all go and ask for a copy of Afghanistan News. It's a quarterly magazine with feature stories about the situation in Afghanistan. The latest feature was about clothing for both men and women, and what is allowed, what is not allowed, how do people deal with it, how do people dress differently when they're in private and in public, and so on. You will find all the information you need if you want to become a member on sak.se. You can also write in Swedish Committee for Afghanistan and search for that, but the Swedish page is sak.se. You can follow us on Facebook, on our X account, or you can subscribe on our newsletter, which you will also find on our website. And you're welcome to come to our seminars, events, and so on. So thank you again for inviting me here, and I wish you all a wonderful film time this festival. Thank you.
Niklas Eriksson. Jag pratade lite grann om vår lilla förening, och det är kulturklubben Fadda, och jag skulle vilja bjuda in Fatah Dafuri som är representant för föreningen. Prata lite grann om detta. Du tar den andra. Yes.
Dear friends and esteemed guests, today we are with great pride we inaugurate the 15th Sama International Film Festival. This festival, which was founded by 15 years ago by the Farda Culture Club, has over the years become a powerful platform for showcasing artistic documentary in cinematic films from around the world, especially from Afghanistan. Our theme this year is education and prevention of violence against women, as we firmly believe that the right of education for girls is a fundamental human rights and essential for their individual and social development. Education empowers girls to make informed choices, participate fully in society, and have access and knowledge and awareness. Afghan girls must have unrestricted access to educational opportunities. Supporting girls' education is not only important for promoting equality and reducing poverty, but it's also vital for building a more stable and prosperous future for Afghanistan. Any ban or restriction on women education is an act against human rights, and we must not remain silent in the face of such actions. This year, out of dozens of films submitted to the festival, 25 outstanding films have been selected by the selection committee and will be showcased over the next 2 days. We will witness these valuable cinematic works. We are immensely grateful for the heartfelt cooperation of the selection committee, Mohsen Hosseini, Alka Sadat, and Farid Arwand. The esteemed judges, Sofia Nolain, Sarah Moeen, Barak Akram, Mikhail Graverson, and Yasaman Sharif Manish. The organizing committee and the continuous support of our sponsor, the Nakka Commune, Swedish Committee for Afghanistan, who has supported us in the past 15 years. Without the support of these dear ones, it would not have been possible to hold the festival at such a professional and artistic level. I thank you for your presence and everyone who helped in organizing this grand event. And I hope this festival inspires positive changes in our society. Thank you.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the documentary you just watched is made by Mr. Phil Graspy and Mr. Shoaib Sharifi. And tonight, or today, we have Mr. Phil Graspy here with us. Mr. Graspy is a writer, producer, and a filmmaker who has been making documentary films for over 30 years. And he has won a lot of awards during this time as well. Mr. Graspy, we are very delighted to have you here tonight, or today.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I am sure that we have many questions. I have many questions to you, Mr. Graspy, and I'm sure the audience has many questions as well. So I think I jump directly to the questions.
Okay.
Yes. My first question is that this project has been a long time ambitious project. How did you start this project? How did you and Mr. Shoaib Sharifi met?
So I was fortunate in that about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, there was a development in film technology, filmmaking technology. We used to shoot films on film and then on very big video cameras. All of a sudden there were small cameras that became available. And that gave filmmakers like me more flexibility to travel anywhere on our own. And I had seen in March of 2001, the Buddhas of Bamiyan being destroyed by the Taliban. This had made front page news. And I started to wonder who exactly the Taliban were, what exactly life was like in Afghanistan. Then with 9/11, and the subsequent removal of the Taliban towards the end of 2001, I thought to myself, I don't believe that all Afghan men are kind of bearded terrorists and all the women are mute, are silent behind their blue burqas. And I thought that the best thing that I could do would be to go to Afghanistan and find out for myself. The important thing is to have a local producer. And we found one that actually was living in Islamabad. So I went to Islamabad first, and then we flew into Kabul. And I said to him, this wasn't Shuaib, I said to him, I don't want to make a film in Kabul, it's too obvious. I want to go into the countryside. Let's go to Bamiyan, and let's find a story through which I can start to explore what life is like in Afghanistan. And I thought I would be making a film about an adult male. I didn't think I would have access to women, and I never thought about a child. But pretty quickly, it became apparent, first of all, it became apparent that I could film without being arrested or attacked or anything like that. And secondly, I could speak to men, and men had lots to talk about, but it was all historic, about life fighting the Russians, fighting the Taliban, civil war. But there was no narrative, there was no forward-moving narrative, because everyone was exhausted, depressed, and unemployed. And that wasn't really the film that I wanted to make. I spoke to some women who would talk to me behind, inside their caves, not in public. They had a lot to say, and again, it was very moving. But there wasn't really I'm trying to make a cinema film or a television film at that point. And I wanted to make something which had a story that was moving forwards. And it was after 2 or 3 days that I met Mir and his friends. And, you saw for yourself. I mean, he's very cute and very funny. And almost the first thing that I did with him was go and explore what used to be the Buddhas of Bamiyan, but the staircases in the rocks, and I'm filming that scene where he and his friends are running up the stairs, and I suddenly realised that he could be a story. One, because he was full of energy, it was exciting to film. There was an innocence about about him, but also I thought to myself, if I follow his life over the period of a year, then we're going to think about what is going to happen to Afghanistan. And all this, it's one thing to kick the Taliban out, but what happens next? So it was very fortunate. I've made over 200 films. I think the decision to follow Mir is the best decision of any film that I've ever made. Min Shuaib. So I made a film, the first film, called The Boy Who Plays in the Buddhas of Bamiyan. And that just covered 1 year. I released it to film festivals and kind of thing that you do. I had a screening in London, and a young man stood up at the end of the screening and said, I know that family. And I thought, well, that's very unusual, because there were 200 families living in the caves next to Bamiyan. I thought, what are the chances that you know the family that I filmed? So I was a little suspicious, but then he showed me in his notebook, he had a notebook with him, he showed me the address where they went, with their original village, not Bamiyan, they'd come from a different village, as you've seen. And it also transpired that Shuaib, that was his name, he was one of only 2 people that had filmed the Buddhas being blown up, which was very risky to do. And that footage was in my film, so it was very strange. And he's a tremendously nice guy. He was in London studying filmmaking. And to cut a long story short, I said we should continue this film with me, but we should work together, because you being an Afghan will get us even closer to the story. What then happened, which I could not have anticipated was that actually Shoaib became the head of the BBC in Kabul, which meant he went to live in Kabul, which meant he was there all the time.
Yeah.
And that meant also he, and on those occasions that I went to, we could film anytime. We didn't have to fly into Afghanistan and fly out. So this is 100% a collaboration between Shoaib and myself. What, of course, is very sad is that when we won the BAFTA, he's the first Afghan to be nominated for a BAFTA, to win a BAFTA, but the Taliban are now in power and he can't, he couldn't announce it. There was no celebration in Afghanistan, it's not a public, it's not something that the Taliban wish to necessarily celebrate, which is a shame.
Yeah, unfortunately. So did I understood you correctly that you knew from the beginning when you met Mir that this will going to be a long project?
No. So I thought it would be, I only had an intention to make one film for 1 year. But I then, as you do with films, you then a film starts its life in festivals, normally. And I was showing the film in festivals and, on a big screen, and the film was doing very well, it was, being applauded, it was winning awards. But I was feeling very uncomfortable because at that time I had no way of contacting Mir or his family. The return of the Taliban in many ways is a disaster for Afghanistan. But one shouldn't think that nothing has been achieved in the last 20 years. One of the things that has been achieved is the introduction of mobile phones. When I first went in 2001, maybe they existed there, but I didn't know anybody. I didn't meet anybody who had a mobile phone. Certainly Mir and his family didn't have a mobile phone. So I had no way of contacting the family. The only thing I could do would be to ask my producer, who lived in Islamabad, to actually travel all the way to the village in the north to see that they were okay. Anyway, I wanted to go back and see that they were okay. And I thought, well, I'll take my camera, because that's what I do. And then I realised that actually 1 year is not enough. I needed to follow the story for 10 years to see whether all this money, loss of life, military intervention, the political intervention, what was actually going to happen through looking at this one particular family. Could we get a sense of whether Afghanistan itself was being improved and improving? So that was the second film, which was called 10 Years in Afghanistan. I wasn't planning on continuing it, but I had one broadcaster that supported me in this whole adventure, and that was a German broadcaster. I found it extremely difficult to raise funds from anybody else. Even my British broadcasters were saying, no one's interested in Afghanistan. This was while we had the military were fighting there. People were dying on all sides. Hundreds, trillions of dollars are being spent, and you have broadcasters saying, we're not interested. It's appalling. But there was one German broadcaster, WDR in Cologne, in Köln, who said, we want to know what's happening to Mir. We want you to carry on. So I talked to Shoaib, and I think the fact that Shoaib was living in Kabul meant that we decided that we would carry on. And then that ultimately became the 20-year project that you've just seen.
Yeah. I thought you just talked about how did you decide to choose Mir Hussein as a main character. But was there anything about him especially that resonated with you as a person?
That's an interesting question. I think, when I went to Afghanistan, I was an experienced filmmaker, which means an experienced storyteller. So I was looking for a story. I do think it's relevant that in my own personal life, I had two very small children. 3 and a few months, 2 years old and a few months. So when I'm filming in Bamiyan, there is that sense of being in the middle of, the middle of nowhere really, on your own, apart from one local producer. And so there were moments when these kids were around, either Mir and his friends or others, it was kind of a relief for me to kind of try to play with them. Even as young children, you could see that the boys were quite happy to engage, but the girls were nervous, which was immediately sad. But I'm talking to the adults, and the adults have horror stories. I mean, Mir's mother talking about eating grass and, walking over the mountains in the snow and children being buried in the snow. The men talking about the 2 decades of warfare. It was a relief to play with children after that, But I think the thing with Mir, as I hope the film shows you, is that he was even when I first met him, he just had that curiosity, that humour, that good nature, energy. He was a bit of what we call a rascal, he was cheeky. And every single day that I've been with him, something different has happened. I mean, it's never the same. Certainly when he was young, certainly in Bamiyan, I would get to the cave at 6 a.m, I would film until it was dark, and I would just be sitting there, watching, just observing and filming. But one day they would steal apples from the local soldiers. I don't think that scene's in the film you've just seen, but another day they'd go for a picnic. Another day they'd go into the bazaar and beg for bread. Then he got a job, then he got to school. I mean, there's always things happening with the young child. And the point is that through the child and the family, you just get a sense of, what's happening in Afghanistan. The Afghan people, by and large, were delighted in 2001. There was a real opportunity there to build a country that said no to war. But, in my opinion, the money was spent in the wrong way. Instead of trillions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars being spent on military, building air bases and sending in tanks and helicopters and all this kind of thing. Afghanistan still doesn't have a good road system. It still has clinics that have no medicine. People should have been more enlightened and just said, okay, we'll try to help you with your politics, but what we're really going to do is help you with your infrastructure, and we're going to take a long-term view. Mir's aunt lost a child during pregnancy, and she was ill, and they had to push her in a wheelbarrow to a nearby town, and the child died en route. That's ridiculous in the 21st century. And of course, when Iraq happened, that was a disaster for Afghanistan, because then everyone's attention moved to Iraq, and really good people in Kabul moved to Iraq, and money went to Iraq. And yet, despite it all, Mir has retained his good humour, which is quite remarkable, really.
Yeah, really. And we saw that in that documentary you made also. Absolutely not. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for everybody for coming to see the film.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Have a nice day.
Du kan bara swisha om du gör det.
Det är sträck 20, sträck inte bara. I can normally show a sträck med tifo 6, I can switch from sträck that.
در من ترک ترک شد تصویر مرد جادی کس مرا نبیند. آمد سگ کنارم پرسید گریه داری؟ غمگین مباش مجنون رسم جهان بدل شد. لیلی بمان بگویم دیوانه فراری.
Is it okay on stage? Can you hear yourself?
وطن چی هست؟ آیا وطن چی هست؟ این اشتکاه بیرمت قلب‌های دور، جغرافیای مرده ولی مایه غرور. این خطه مقدس و این مرز مرد خیز، این سرزمین زنکش و این زندگی ستیز. وطن چی هست؟ آیا از آن چی خاطره در خاطرت نشست؟ آیا با شکل هیبت مردان دین پرست؟ آیا چنان دروغ سیاستگران پست؟ یا چون بهشت گم شده طالبان مست؟ وطن چی هست؟ آیا وطن چی هست؟ این رشتکاه بیرمق قرنهای دور، جغرافیای مرده ولی مایه غرور. این خطه مقدس و این مرز مرد هست، این سرزمین زنکش و این زندگی ستیز. وطن چی هست؟ آیا از آن چی خاطره در خاطرت نشست؟ آیا به شکل هیبت مردان دین پرست؟ آیا چنان دروغ سیاستگران پست؟ یا چون بهشت گم شده طالبان مست؟ وطن چی هست؟ آیا وطن چی هست؟ وطن چی هست؟ آیا وطن چی هست وطن چی هست آیا وطن چی هست جایی که تو را امنیت و نان میسر است جایی که زندگی حق مقرر است جایی که سهم و ارزش انسان برابر است جایی که حال همه من خوب و بهتر است جز این وطن چی هست جایی که تو را امنیت و نان میسر است جایی که زندگی حق مقرر است جایی که سهم و ارزش انسان برابر است جایی که حال همه من خوب و بهتر است جز این وطن چی هست وطن چی هست آیا وطن چی هست وطن چی هست آیا وطن چی هست آیا از آن چه خاطر در خاطرتش هست آیا به شکل هیبت مردان دین پرست آیا چنان دروغ سیاستگران پست یا چون بهشت گم شده طالبان مست وطن چی هست آیا از آن چی خاطر در خاطرتش هست وطن چی هست آیا وطن چی هست وطن چی هست آیا وطن چی هست وطن چی هست آیا وطن چی هست
تمامی درهای زیاد و کمم علی درد دادم علی درد دادم علی درد دادم علی درد دادم الخی اما اصلی تو قندی از من در دل من یال چون از شعرش کمک در حافظه بسیار خندی از ما دیده دیده نوربندی از ما در زخمای جیگر هستی ملم در زخمای جیگر هستی ملم علی دد دادم علی دد دادم علی درد
Ja, välkomna till 15:e samma internationella filmfestival. Vi är här i Nacka, dieselverkstad, och vi har vår 15:e filmfestival som representerar väldigt många bra filmer. Och så har vi även en konstutställning av våra unga afghanska kvinna som bor här i Sverige och håller på med konst. Hon heter Tara. Välkommen Tara.
Hej, tack så mycket. Tack så mycket.
Tack så jättemycket för att du har valt att ställa ut hos oss. Hur känns det att vara här och ställa ut? För det är första gången för dig.
Ja. Hej, det känns jättebra. Lite nervös, men det är bra att vara nervös ibland. Så det känns jättebra och det är första gången jag har utställning på en afghansk förening. Så en afghansk förening. Ja. Så tack för att jag får vara med.
Det är vi som är privilegierade och glada att du valde att ställa ut. Du har många vackra tavlor, väldigt fina. Och jag vill veta, hur länge har du hållit på med att måla?
Ja, men jag började, om jag ska vara specifik, jag började i november 2018. Och då bodde jag i Göteborg. Ja, så det är inte så länge sedan jag började. Ja.
Har du kunnat hålla på med konsten i Afghanistan eller är det här i Sverige?
Nej, tyvärr. Jag bodde i Iran innan jag kom till Sverige och det var först när jag kom hit och kände att här har jag möjlighet att få fram och visa min konst. Och så det var här jag började. Det var här i Sverige jag började med konst.
Men du har haft tankar och önskan att kunna hålla på med konst?
Alltså om jag ska vara helt ärlig, nej. Jag visste inte ens att jag kunde måla. Och när jag var liten och gick i skolan så gav jag alla mina målningar till min mamma. Så för hon målar mycket bättre än vad jag gör. Så jag fuskade lite, förlåt alla lärare. Om ni ser. Så nej, det var 2018, det var av en händelse att jag började måla och sen fortsatte med det.
Väldigt, väldigt fina tavlor. Och jag vill ställa den frågan som jag hela tiden velat. Vad är det som inspirerar dig till de målningarna?
Ja, det är främst mänskliga rättigheter. Eftersom jag kommer från ett land där kvinnor, tjejer, speciellt kvinnor och tjejer har inga grundande mänskliga rättigheter. Så, och det är en verklighet jag bodde i. Och när jag kom hit till Sverige så fick jag den där möjligheten att visa och berätta om vad alla andra tjejer på andra platser än i Sverige går igenom. Och det är mitt sätt att kämpa och kanske vara en röst åt de som inte har ingen röst. Så ja.
Definitivt, jag håller med dig. Jag har 2 tavlor som jag har tittat lite extra på. Ska vi gå fram och visa dina verk? Och då har vi... Här ska vi se. Jag tänkte först och främst på den här tavlan. Berätta lite grann om den och när målade du den och vad är inspirationskällan?
Jo, den heter Tredje världens Mona Lisa och jag blev inspirerad av Bibi Aisha, heter hon. Hon bodde i Afghanistan då och hennes man skar hennes näsa och öron. Så jag blev väldigt berörd när jag hörde om henne. Och jag tyckte sättet hon satt i bilden och hennes bild blev väldigt känd och populär. Så jag kände så här, när jag såg först bilden då tänkte jag på Mona Lisa. Och det var lite så här ironi också att Mona Lisa har ett leende. Hon har ingen. Så hon kanske har ett leende under men vi ser inte det. För hon döljer. Så ja, det var så jag tänkte.
Vackert, verkligen och berörande. Sen tänker jag det här fantastiska färgglada tavlan. Vad föreställer den? Man säger ju att det är en tjej, men vad är inspirationskällan?
Ja, det är en färgglad, men det handlar om sorg som man kanske ser i hennes ögon och det är min allra första tavla. som jag målade och därför jag var så korrekt med datumen. Det är 12 november 2018. Och det var som jag sa att jag började måla av en händelse. Och det var en natt som jag hade väldigt mycket känslor innerst inne som jag kunde få ut på något sätt. Jag började skriva på en dagbok, det hjälpte inte. Så mitt i natten så gick jag bara ner till förrådet och hittade en canvas och penslar och färg. Tog upp till mitt rum och började måla. Utan att bara tänka, jag bara målade. Och sen, det blev där. Jag visade till mina vänner och så, de bara, wow Tara, du måste fortsätta. Och sen jag bara fortsatt. Så just i den tiden, som jag sa, det var mycket känslor, det var mycket längtan. Det var mycket som hände i mitt liv just där och då. Så det blev den. Sorry, absolut. Det var mycket sorg innerst inne. Och sen det speglar här. Det speglar mina känslor. Det är väldigt varmt, kanske innerst inne. Mycket varma känslor, men ändå sorg och längtan finns där.
Fantastiskt Avla, verkligen jättefina färger och man ser verkligen sorg, men även de här färgerna fångar ens blick, måste jag säga. Ja, Tara, supertack för den här intervjun och vi fortsätter att se på dina tavlor som fortsätter hela vägen. Så att, tack så jättemycket.
SAMA International Film Festival Juries 2024. Sophia Norlin, a former teacher of film directing at the Sorbonne University Paris and the French Art and Essay Film Association, GNCR, she's today a senior lecturer teaching film directing at Stockholm University of the Arts. Her first feature film, Broken Hill, won the 2011 Stockholm Film Festival Feature Film Award, and Sophia was named Best New Director at the 2014 Swedish Film Award. She's currently preparing her new feature film to be shot in spring 2025 and will take her through large parts of Europe. She is jury president at the 15th SAMA International Film Festival. Yosaman Sharif Manish is a documentary filmmaker, journalist and photographer dedicated to capturing the human crises in the Middle East. She studied cinema at Tehran Soray University and earned a master's degree in media and communication from Lund University. Her previous film, shot in Afghanistan, received the Best Nordic Documentary Award in 2021. Currently, she's working on 3 different documentary projects in Syria. Her latest documentary, I Am an Olive Tree, is set to be released next year. Barmak Akram, a multifaceted filmmaker, visual artist and musician. A graduate of La FEMI, École des Beaux-Arts, ENSBA, and École nationale supérieure des arts décoratifs, ENSAD, Akram has distinguished himself across various creative disciplines, seamlessly blending visual arts, music and cinema. His debut feature film, Kobili Kid, 2008, garnered acclaim at the Critics' Week during the Venice Film Festival. In 2013, his film Wajma, an Afghan love story, won the Best Screenplay Award at the Sundance Film Festival and was Afghanistan's official submission for the Oscars. Sora Moyin is a radio producer with several acclaimed radio documentaries behind her. In her 2014 radio documentary To Die Standing, about a young Iranian hip-hopper in exile, she illustrates a young generation's struggle against the Iranian regime and their longing for freedom. Moyin is a film-educated scholar but fell in love with sound and switched to radio, and then studied radio documentary at Stockholm Academy of Dramatic Arts. Her newly released documentary, The Children of Camp Ashraf, is Moyin's documentary film debut. Michael Gravison has received wide festival acclaim with his films that are known to deal with existential or socially relevant themes. The intimate portrait of a young Afghan refugee in Dreaming of Denmark 2015 earned him a CPH GOX FACT Award nomination, and No Man's Land 2013, a strong depiction of life at a children's asylum centre, was selected for IDFA and 25+ festivals. Michael Gravison graduated in documentary directing from the National Film and TV School in the UK and holds a BA in Film and Media Science and Psychology from Copenhagen University. His last documentary, Mr. Gravison, 2022, was selected at CPH GOX and has won several awards. International section. Best Short Film. Winner: Beyond the Alleys by Navid Zoreh. Special mention: Homunculus by Gulnosh Ansari. International section. Best Documentary Short Film. Winner: A Friendly Aroma by Oriane Naf. International section. Best Fiction Feature. Winner: When the Walnut Trees Turn Yellow by Mehmet Ali Konar. International section. Best Documentary Feature. Winner: The Sky Is Mine by Ayub Nosiri. Jury Special Prize, Hollywood Gate by Ibrahim Nashat. Afghanistan section. Best Short Film. Winner: The Most Beautiful Kobili Dress by Kozim Ajram. Special mention: Echoes by Ahmad Ebrahimi. Best Fiction Feature. Winner: The Last Birthday by Navid Mahmoudi. Best Documentary Feature. Winner: My Childhood, My Country by Phil Grabsky and Shoaib Sharifi. Experience the excitement of mingling with industry professionals, groove to live music, and immerse yourself in extraordinary films from around the world. Mark your calendars for the Samma International Film Festival in Stockholm. Visit our website and follow us on social media for more information. Don't miss out on the cinematic event of the year. Samma International Film Festival, celebrating cinema, culture and community. See you there!